Welcome to Cyber Explain channel. Today we are going to discuss PAM powerhouses, CyberArk versus BeyondTrust, which reigns supreme. Alright everyone, welcome back. Today, we are diving into a topic that's super critical for securing your most sensitive assets, Privileged Access Management, or PAM. Think of it as the ultimate bouncer for your digital kingdom. PAM isn't just about passwords, it's about managing those high-stakes accounts, the keys to the kingdom if you will, that have elevated permissions. We are talking system administrators, database administrators, cloud engineers, folks who can literally change anything. Beyond just accounts, PAM also tackles secrets, things like API keys, database credentials, certificates that applications and systems use to talk to each other. And finally, it's all about watching what these privileged users are doing, managing their sessions in real time, so we can audit and prevent misuse. So, let's unpack those core pillars we just touched on. First up, privileged accounts. These are your sysadmins, your database gurus, the folks with the keys to the kingdom. If these accounts are compromised, an attacker can do some serious damage. Then we have secrets. These aren't just passwords, they're API keys, SSH keys, certificates, tokens. Applications and services use these to authenticate with each other, and if these fall into the wrong hands, it's like handing over the master key to your IT infrastructure. Finally, session management. This is where we get eyes on what's happening when someone with privileged access is actually doing something. Think of it as a live surveillance feed of all the critical actions being performed, which is invaluable for audits and incident response. Now, let's get into the heavy hitters. CyberArk is a name you hear everywhere when PAM is on the table. They've been around for a while and have built a really robust, enterprise-grade solution. Their strength really lies in their deep security focus and comprehensive feature set. They're known for strong vaulting capabilities, robust session management, and excellent automation for credential rotation. If you are a large enterprise with complex needs and a high-risk profile, CyberArk often feels like the default choice. They've really built their reputation on protecting the absolute most sensitive environments. CyberArk's pedigree comes from its relentless focus on security. Their privileged account vault is top-notch, offering air-gapped security options and robust encryption. Session management is also a big win, providing detailed recording, playback, and even real-time monitoring with the ability to terminate sessions if something looks suspicious. For automation, CyberArk excels at rotating credentials across a vast array of systems, from legacy mainframes to modern cloud environments. They really nail the least privilege principle by ensuring credentials are only available when absolutely needed and then immediately rotated out. This makes them a go-to for organizations with stringent compliance requirements. Okay, no solution is perfect, right? With CyberArk, the complexity can be a double-edged sword. Because it's so feature-rich, the implementation and ongoing management can be quite involved. We are talking significant operational overhead. For smaller teams or organizations that are just starting their PAM journey, the sheer depth of configuration and the learning curve can be daunting. Sometimes, you might find that certain integrations, especially with very niche or legacy applications, might require custom development. And let's be honest, it's often on the higher end of the price spectrum, which can be a barrier for some companies. Now, let's pivot to BeyondTrust. They've carved out a strong niche by offering a more unified approach to access management, often combining PAM with endpoint privilege management, EPM, and remote support tools. Their philosophy often leans towards providing a broader set of capabilities under one umbrella. This can simplify things for organizations that have diverse security needs beyond just privileged accounts. They're known for their flexibility, ease of deployment in certain scenarios, and a strong focus on user experience for both administrators and end users. BeyondTrust aims to make security accessible without sacrificing robustness. BeyondTrust really shines in its integrated offering. If you need to manage privileged accounts and reduce local admin rights on endpoints, or even manage remote access for support teams, BeyondTrust often provides a more cohesive platform. Their solutions are frequently perceived as easier to deploy and manage, especially for organizations that aren't steeped in deep cybersecurity expertise. The user interface is often more intuitive, making it quicker for teams to get up and running. They also have strong capabilities in just-in-time, JIT access elevation, allowing users to get temporary elevated permissions only when they truly need them, which is a great way to enforce least privilege dynamically. While BeyondTrust offers integration, sometimes that breadth can mean less depth in specific areas compared to a specialist. For extremely complex, highly regulated environments with very specific vaulting or auditing requirements that CyberArk is known for, BeyondTrust might require more add-ons or custom configurations. The agent sprawl, which means having multiple agents on endpoints for different functions, can also be a consideration depending on how their solutions are deployed. Cost can also be a factor. While they might offer a more accessible entry point, scaling up with all their modules can still add up. And for certain legacy or highly custom applications, integrations might still present challenges. Let's talk about vaulting, the heart of PAM. Both CyberArk and BeyondTrust offer robust credential vaults. CyberArk's vault is often considered the gold standard for its security architecture. Think of it like a super secure bank vault where every single privileged credential is stored, encrypted, and access is tightly controlled. It can handle a massive number of credentials and supports very sophisticated rotation policies. BeyondTrust also has a strong vault, often integrated with their other offerings, providing secure storage and automated rotation. The key difference often comes down to the underlying architecture, the level of isolation, and the specific compliance features they emphasize. This is where we get to see what's actually happening. Session management is crucial for accountability. Both platforms allow you to record privileged sessions, essentially, a video of everything an admin does. You can often replay these sessions for forensic investigations. CyberArk is renowned for its granular control here, offering features like live session termination, keystroke logging, and even comment filtering. BeyondTrust also provides excellent session recording and monitoring, often integrated with their endpoint security. The focus here is on visibility, knowing who did what, when, and why, which is non-negotiable for security and compliance. The principle of least privilege is paramount, and just-in-time, JIT access elevation is a fantastic way to enforce it. Instead of granting permanent elevated rights, JIT allows users to request temporary elevated permissions for a specific task, which are then automatically revoked. BeyondTrust has historically put a lot of emphasis on this, integrating it tightly with endpoint privilege management. CyberArk also offers JIT capabilities, often as part of their broader access control workflows. The goal is to minimize the attack surface by ensuring that elevated privileges are only active for the shortest possible duration required to complete a task. Let's paint a picture. An organization decides they need to implement privileged session monitoring for their IT admins. They're weighing CyberArk against BeyondTrust. The IT director is concerned about costs and complexity. CyberArk offers that deep, granular control and robust vaulting, which is appealing for their sensitive infrastructure. However, the implementation team is worried about the potential operational overhead and the training required. BeyondTrust, on the other hand, promises a more unified platform and potentially easier deployment, which could save them time and resources. They're looking at the total cost of ownership, not just the license fees, but also the implementation, training, and ongoing maintenance. This is where the rubber meets the road, balancing enterprise-grade security with practical deployment realities. Even with PAM in place, attackers are always looking for ways in. One common vector is credential theft. Think phishing attacks targeting admin accounts, or malware that steals credentials directly from endpoints. Another is exploiting vulnerabilities in the PAM solution itself. If the PAM system has a bug, an attacker might be able to bypass it. Insider threats are also a huge concern. A disgruntled employee with privileged access can cause immense damage. Finally, misconfigurations are a big one. An improperly set up PAM solution, like a weak policy or an open port, can inadvertently create a backdoor. We've seen major breaches where the initial access was through a misconfigured cloud service or a stolen admin credential. Let's get a bit more granular on attack patterns. We see attackers trying to brute force their way into the PAM vault or discover weak passwords used for privileged accounts that might not be fully managed by PAM. Lateral movement is another big one. Once an attacker gains a low-privilege foothold, they'll try to escalate using stolen credentials or exploiting vulnerabilities to pivot to a privileged account, and then from there, to the PAM system itself. Sometimes, attackers will target the *delivery mechanism of credentials, like intercepting API calls or session data if it's not properly secured. We've also seen scenarios where attackers exploit weak session management by, for instance, injecting malicious commands during an active session if monitoring isn't robust enough. So, how do we catch these bad actors? Detection is key. It starts with robust logging. Your PAM solution should generate detailed logs for every access, every session, every credential retrieval. We then feed these logs into a SCIM, security information and event management system for correlation and analysis. Anomalies are what we are looking for: unusually high login attempts, access to systems or data outside of normal working hours or job functions, unexpected session terminations, or frequent credential retrieval failures. Behavioral analytics can also be a lifesaver, flagging deviations from a user's normal activity patterns. Think of it as an anomaly detection system for your most sensitive operations. Let's dig into what those anomalies might look like. If an admin account suddenly starts accessing a database it's never touched before, or performing a large volume of data exports, that's a red flag. Multiple failed login attempts to the PAM system itself, especially from unusual IP addresses or at odd hours, are also a strong indicator. Monitoring for changes to PAM policies or configurations that aren't authorized is critical. We also need to look at session data. Are commands being executed that are outside the scope of the user's typical responsibilities? For example, if a database admin is suddenly trying to install new software on a production server, that's highly suspect. A sudden surge in credential retrieval requests for sensitive accounts is another telltale sign. Sometimes, even with PAM, things can go wrong. A major failure mode is when the PAM solution itself becomes a single point of failure. If the PAM system is down, legitimate privileged users can't do their jobs, grinding operations to a halt. Conversely, if an attacker gains access to the PAM system, they have access to everything . Another failure mode is improper integration. If PAM isn't properly connected to all the systems it's supposed to manage, or if credentials aren't rotated correctly across all those systems, then gaps exist. We also see failures when policies aren't strict enough, or when organizations bypass PAM for convenience, which, as we know, is a dangerous path. So, how do we shore up our defenses? High availability and disaster recovery for the PAM system itself are non-negotiable. We need redundancy. Second, defense in depth applies here too. Don't rely solely on PAM. Secure the PAM infrastructure itself with firewalls, network segmentation, and regular patching. Implement strong authentication for PAM administrators. Regularly audit your PAM configurations and policies to catch misconfigurations. And critically, ensure your PAM solution integrates with as many of your critical systems as possible, automating credential rotation and access for everything. This holistic approach is key. Let's talk about the elephant in the room: cost. Generally speaking, CyberArk tends to be positioned at a premium price point, reflecting its deep enterprise features and focus on high-security environments. It's often licensed per managed resource or per user, and the total cost can scale significantly with the number of endpoints and applications you need to protect. BeyondTrust, while also an enterprise solution, often presents a more flexible pricing model. They might offer modular pricing or bundle solutions in ways that can be more accessible for organizations with moderate PAM needs or those looking for a broader suite of access control tools. However, the apples-to-apples comparison can be tricky, as you need to factor in all the modules and capabilities you require from each. This is a huge differentiator. CyberArk, due to its extensive feature set and architectural depth, often requires a more specialized team for implementation and ongoing management. We are talking about dedicated PAM administrators who understand its intricate configurations, scripting capabilities for automation, and complex policy definitions. BeyondTrust, on the other hand, often aims for a more streamlined operational experience. Their UIs are typically more intuitive, and the integration with other tools can simplify day-to-day management, potentially allowing existing security teams to manage it with less specialized training. This is a critical factor when assessing your internal team's capacity and skill set. This is a classic problem in IT security. Agent sprawl refers to having numerous separate software agents installed on servers or endpoints to perform different security functions. In the context of PAM, some deployments might require specific agents for credential rotation, others for session monitoring, and yet others for endpoint privilege management. CyberArk, especially in older architectures or for certain advanced features, can sometimes lead to agent sprawl. BeyondTrust, with its integrated approach, often tries to consolidate these functions into fewer agents, simplifying deployment and reducing the management burden on endpoints. This impacts performance, patch management, and overall system complexity. Let's circle back to our scenario. The organization is rolling out session monitoring. They're comparing CyberArk and BeyondTrust. The finance department is pushing hard on cost, seeing CyberArk's higher sticker price as a potential blocker. The CISO, however, is prioritizing robust security and auditability, leaning towards CyberArk's proven track record in highly regulated sectors. The IT operations team is advocating for BeyondTrust, citing their limited resources and the perceived ease of deployment and management, especially their JIT features which can empower developers with necessary access without constant IT overhead. This isn't just a technical choice, it's a strategic decision balancing risk appetite, budget, and operational capacity. So, how do you pick between these two giants? It really comes down to your specific needs. Ask yourself, what's your organization's risk profile? Are you in a highly regulated industry with stringent compliance mandates that demand the deepest level of control and auditability? Or are you looking for a more unified access solution that also covers endpoint security and remote access? What's your budget? What's your IT team's capacity for implementation and ongoing management? Do you have a lot of legacy systems that need deep integration, or are you primarily cloud native? There's no single best answer. It's about finding the best fit for your organization. Under the hood, PAM solutions rely on various protocols to talk to your infrastructure. For credential rotation, they might use protocols like SSH or WinRM. For authentication and authorization, they can leverage things like SAML, OAuth, Kerberos, or Radius. SCIM is becoming increasingly important for provisioning and deprovisioning identities and their associated access rights from identity providers. Understanding these underlying protocols is crucial for ensuring seamless integration and robust security. A weak protocol implementation can undermine even the best PAM solution. SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language, is a cornerstone for single sign-on, SSO, and federated identity. PAM solutions often integrate with SAML to allow users to access the PAM interface itself using their corporate credentials, rather than a separate PAM-specific login. This simplifies user experience. More importantly, SAML allows the PAM solution to assert user identities to other applications, enabling a more streamlined process for granting and revoking access. It's the bridge that connects your corporate identity with access to various SaaS applications and cloud services managed by PAM. For cloud-native applications and mobile access, OAuth 2.0 and OpenID Connect (OIDC) are your go-to protocols. OAuth is primarily for authorization, allowing an application to access resources on behalf of a user without exposing their direct credentials. OIDC builds on OAuth to provide identity information. PAM solutions can integrate with these to manage access to cloud services, allowing users to authenticate via their corporate identity, often through OIDC, and granting granular permissions, via OAuth, to specific cloud resources. This is essential for securing modern, distributed applications. Kerberos is a classic enterprise authentication protocol, often found in Windows-centric environments. It uses a ticket-granting system to authenticate users to services. PAM solutions can integrate with Kerberos to leverage existing enterprise authentication infrastructure. This means users can authenticate to the PAM system using their Kerberos tickets, and PAM can then manage the credentials needed to access resources that also rely on Kerberos. It's about ensuring that the established enterprise authentication mechanisms are leveraged by the PAM solution for a cohesive security posture. Radius and diameter are primarily used for network access control, often for VPNs, Wi-Fi, and other network services. A PAM solution might integrate with radius or diameter servers to manage the privileged access credentials used for network devices themselves, or to enforce policies on who can access certain network segments using privileged accounts. Diameter is the more modern successor to radius, offering better performance and flexibility. Essentially, these protocols help PAM extend its reach to the network infrastructure layer, ensuring privileged access to routers, firewalls, and other network gear is secured and monitored. SCIM, System for Cross-Domain Identity Management, is a protocol designed to automate the exchange of user identity information between identity domains or IT systems. PAM solutions leverage SCIM to automatically provision and deprovision user accounts and their associated access rights across various applications and services. When a user is hired, their identity and initial access can be pushed from an HR system via SCIM to the PAM, which then orchestrates the creation of accounts. Conversely, when an employee leaves, SCIM helps ensure that their access is promptly revoked across all managed systems. This drastically reduces manual effort and the risk of orphaned accounts. What happens when things aren't standard? Edge cases are where PAM solutions really get tested. Think about air-gapped environments. How do you manage privileged access and rotate credentials when systems are physically isolated? Or managing access for IoT devices, which often have limited processing power and no standard user interfaces? What about highly specialized legacy systems with unique authentication mechanisms? Or situations where an urgent emergency requires a temporary bypass of normal PAM workflows? These are the scenarios where the flexibility, extensibility, and resilience of your chosen PAM solution become absolutely critical. Attackers constantly try to bypass PAM. A classic method is exploiting a misconfiguration, like a privileged account that isn't enrolled in PAM, or an application where credentials are still hard-coded instead of being pulled from the vault. Sometimes, they'll go after the PAM administrator's own credentials. Another sophisticated attack involves exploiting the very protocols PAM uses. For instance, if session recording isn't properly encrypted, or if an attacker can tamper with the authentication assertions used in SAML. The goal is always to either get direct access to the vault, steal credentials without going through PAM, or compromise the PAM system itself. How do we detect someone not using PAM when they should be? It often comes down to anomaly detection and log correlation. If your CM shows a critical server being accessed by an administrator account that should be managed by PAM, but the PAM logs show no credential retrieval for that session, that's a huge red flag. We're looking for deviations, sessions initiated without a corresponding, authorized credential retrieval from the vault. It requires having comprehensive logs from both your PAM solution and your target systems, and then correlating them to ensure every privileged action is accounted for through the secure PAM workflow. Imagine this: your entire PAM infrastructure goes down. Suddenly, your sysadmins can't access servers, your database administrators can't log into their critical databases, and your cloud engineers can't deploy resources. Business operations screech to a halt. This is a major failure mode. It highlights why PAM solutions must have high availability, redundancy, and robust disaster recovery plans. It's not just about securing access, it's about ensuring business continuity. A poorly architected PAM deployment can become a single point of failure that cripples an entire organization. To prevent the PAM outage crisis, redundancy is key. This means deploying PAM in a clustered or high-availability configuration. Have failover mechanisms in place so that if one PAM instance goes down, another immediately takes over. Regularly test your disaster recovery plan to ensure it works when you need it most. Also, segment your network to isolate the PAM infrastructure from other systems. This limits the blast radius if something does go wrong, either internally or due to an attack. The goal is to make your PAM solution as fault-tolerant and resilient as possible. So, we've looked under the hood of CyberArk and BeyondTrust, covering their strengths, weaknesses, protocols, and common pitfalls. For organizations prioritizing the absolute highest level of granular control, deep security, and proven capability in complex, regulated environments, CyberArk often remains the benchmark. However, for those seeking a more unified access experience, integrating PAM with endpoint security, looking for easier deployment and management, or operating with tighter budgets, BeyondTrust presents a compelling and often more pragmatic alternative. The right choice is deeply personal to your organization's unique needs and risk appetite. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the CyberExplain channel. See you on the next video.